welcome back to the channel. Today, fixing the Focus ST. My high pressure fuel pump died on my wife. She was driving it home from a rave last weekend and going down the highway about 80 miles an hour. Said she went to pass somebody and the car said, no, we're not doing this. She limped it home. She was able to get it here, luckily. And when I checked it out, fuel pressure at the rail was only 85 to 90 PSI, which if you don't know, that is what your low pressure fuel pump will make in this car. Since it's direct injection, you need that high pressure fuel pump to amplify the pressure to fire the injectors to actually make the car run. So we're going to be swapping out a high pressure fuel pump today. I got it from my buddy. Don't want to spend a bunch of money on one because I'm about to go big turbo, put an XDI fuel pump on it. So let's get into the job, shall we? So the first thing we're going to do is pull the fuse for the fuel pump. We're going to go over here to the passenger side. Underneath the dash, under the glove box, this little trim piece sits up here like this. There's these two little pop tabs on these clips. They just pop off here. And there's your fuse box right there, okay? The very top left fuse, the yellow one up there, that guy is the one we're going to pull for the fuel pump, okay? Now that we have the fuse out, we're going to start the car. So starting the car at this point is going to get all the fuel out of the system. This is going to bleed the pressure so you don't have to wear a face mask or get sprayed all over the place when you pop these fuel lines off. So the car should start and run for a second. My car hasn't been started in over a week, and the high pressure pump completely quit on us, and I drove it home. Well, we drove it home on just a low pressure pump, and she wasn't happy. So it's probably not a ton of fuel pressure in my car, but it should start, and we'll see. All right. So, like I said, my pump died, and it's been sitting a week, so all the pressure bled off. So ideally, your car is going to start. Well, not ideally. Either your car is going to start or it's not. If it starts, it'll run until it dies. Once it dies, the fuel pressure will have been bled from the system. If it won't start like my car, there's not much fuel pressure in there anyways. Now the fuel pump fuse is out, we've bled the fuel pressure. Our next thing we're going to do is to pull the negative terminal on the battery so that we kill all power. For that, I'm going to use a 10 mil ratcheting wrench. You can use a socket if you want to, but I've got a wrench handy, so I'm just going to pop it off with a ratcheting wrench. Pull up out of the way, away from any kind of metal. Next, we're going to remove the intake tube on top. There's two 10 millimeter bolts, one here, one here. Again, ratcheting wrench or socket, whatever you want to use. I've got my wrench handy, so that's what we're doing. Unplug the mass airflow sensor. Can't see that, I know, but that's what I did. I'm going to get a screwdriver, take that loose, and I'll pull my intake tube up out of the way. Okay, so I got this side off. I'm going to take the clamp loose on the turbo side of this intake. It's, again, just another screwdriver, or probably an 8 mil if that's what you want to do. Okay, intake out the way. Now let's work on the high pressure fuel pump. We're going to take a flathead, we're going to pop this line off right here. Just pry up, don't pry it quickly because you'll just snap it off. But it pops off there, tuck that down out of the way for now. Okay, next step. 17 millimeter, we're going to break this loose. Next, we're going to take an 8 mil. We're just going to take this bolt loose just so you have some slack to move the line. You don't need to take it out. You just need to take it loose. You can take it out if you really want to. It doesn't make much of a difference, but start it out there just so you can move this line out the way. Fuel is going to come out, so be prepared. I'm going to stick a towel right up in here, and I'm just going to pull this line out, let it leak out a little bit of fuel here. And that's all we need, is we just need enough room for this line to be able to move out the way because it kind of sets down in the pump. So, and this is where I saw absolutely no information online, and where most of the questions in the videos kind of said, hey, what do I do here? What am I supposed to do with this stupid other line with clips on it. All right, so there's two different options. These are your actual tool. They're a fuel line disconnect. You can buy them at O'Reilly's for like 15 bucks. I'm gonna try to use these just for the sake of the video, just so you can see the proper tool. All you do is you put it on each side and you squeeze, wiggle just a little bit, and then it pops off. I just got a couple bolts holding it on. We're gonna take an 8mm. I use a shallow 8mm and a 3-inch extension, and this is under spring pressure because it runs on the cam. So we're not just gonna take one side off. We're gonna take it off a little bit on each side at a time. We're gonna unplug this while I'm thinking about it. Here comes the mariachi band. Dogs always bark at mariachi bands. I don't know why. I don't listen to that kind of music, so I don't know what they associate it with. Well, there's two more bolts holding this little black bracket on. We're going to take those off. This is also going to kind of help us keep the spring pressure under control. Holy cow, this thing's tight. There we go. I'm using the same 3-inch extension just so I can get up over top of the fuel pump. And a 10mm for these bolts. So we need an 8mm for the fuel pump, 10mm for the fuel pump, I don't know, retainer bracket, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, see how the pump is slowly popping up now? We're going to go over here. Go over here. These guys have blue Loctite on them, so you're not going to be able to just thread them out by hand. So, yeah, see, blue Loctite. Okay. Bracket can slide up off there. Now, our fuel pump should just pop up out of here. So, this is our high pressure fuel pump. If I can get it to focus. Come on, camera. There we go. And it rides on your cam right there, on the little button right here. It rides on your cam. The spring actuates, creates pressure. This guy's junk. So we're going to clean up the surface here. We're going to clean up all this. I'm going to get my new to me. It was used from a friend. Fuel pump put in here. I'm going XDI here soon, so I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on a stock fuel pump. I'll put paper towel in all my empty holes, especially since that one goes down into the head. And you can kind of clean however much you want here, but only the surface where the O-ring meets really needs to be cleaned, but since I'm here, oh shit, there's my follower. Don't lose your cam follower. All right. So unfortunately, it looks like my microphone decided it wasn't going to work with us here. It died and I didn't notice, but so right here we are lubing the O-rings on the high pressure fuel pump. We don't ever want to put a O-ring in dry. That makes it so the O-ring doesn't tear or fold when we put it in. We've already cleaned the surface, so we're going to pop it in. And with these, you kind of have a 50-50 shot. It depends on where the cam lobe lands when you turn the car off on if you have to turn the crank in order to get the fuel pump to set down in there correctly. If that's the case, you just use a 21mm and turn the crank just a little bit until the fuel pump will drop in there. I was lucky enough that the cam lobe was pointing down and I was able to just set the fuel pump back in there. So at this point, I am putting the fuel pump hold down bolts back in just by hand, getting them started. Just a reminder, these are under spring tension. No matter where the cam lobe ends, you don't want to just put one bolt all the way in. So we are going to alternate sides. We're going to do a couple turns on one side. We're going to flip to the other side. We're going to do a couple turns on that side. We're going to go back and forth until the fuel pump is evenly seated. Now these bolts don't have to be incredibly tight. We're just going to run them down till they're snug, and then we're going to give them just a little bit more to make sure that they're good and tight. Next, we're going to put the fuel pump retainer bracket, whatever bracket you want to call that. We're going to put those back on. with the 10 millimeter. It doesn't really matter at this point. Fuel pump's already seated, so we're just going to tighten those down. At this point, we're going to plug the high pressure fuel pump back in, and then we're going to start working on the lines. We can snap the quick connect right back on. We're going to push the hard line into the pump. You have to put a little bit of pressure on it and then start the nut. Now we're going to grab that 17 millimeter wrench and we're going to tighten this line down. Now this line is kind of made to smash into the pump a little bit, so it does need to be tight, but don't go Hulk smashing it, okay? Just good and tight, all right? Now at this point, just go ahead and put your intake back together. I'm not going to show you every step because everybody's is different. So throw our intake back together. We're going to put everything back together how it came apart. Once you get your intake back together, the only thing left to do is put our negative battery terminal back together. We're going to pop that back on there. We're going to tighten it down, put our battery cover on, and we're going to move on. All right. Got everything put back together. Put this guy back on the battery, just because I'll forget otherwise. Place it back on the battery. Thank you. Now, see if it starts. And just because we did bleed all the pressure off, I'm going to cycle the fuel pump a couple times. You do that by hitting the button without your foot on the clutch. Turn it off, turn it back on. Turn it off. Now foot on the clutch to start it. And she's happy, boy. Checking for fuel leaks. Everything seems to be pretty happy. See if we can actually give it some gas this time. Holy cow, we have fuel pressure again, folks. I think that's going to do it for this one. Car's running again. I can actually drive it. Makes the cool turbo sounds without breaking up and misfiring and wanting to die. So if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. You know anything's coming out. I'm doing shorts. I'm doing long form content. I got Power Stroke content coming. I got some Jeep content coming. I got Focus content coming. I got the content coming. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on all the social media. I'll catch you guys next time.